Total Spiritual Death is the second full-length album from Astral Tomb. This is a Denver, Colorado-based group of fairly young fellows who have they sort of formed as a different band in about 2018. About 2019, they sort of officiated Astral Tomb, and they put out a four band split, which was pretty interesting in terms of collecting a bunch of science fiction themed death metal bands who are a little bit progressive and sort of incorporating them in some way. So that led to kind of a choppy, kind of jammed together demo or two. It led to a debut full length, which was equal parts slamming brutal death metal, hardcore-ish, off time playing. It was kind of a jammed psychedelic experience. It was very emergent and I guess quasi psychedelic is what I would say. Is it's clearly influenced by some sort of paradigm shift mentally, and it's there's a motoric sort of feel it as you go way about this band that is consistently interesting. And that doesn't mean that they're very good musicians, and I think that is the big thing, is that this is a very ambitious group who've put together this album that is it has a lot to it. There's a lot of concept and thought and feeling behind it, but they're not quite there in terms of being able to perform up to the level of their own ideas. We'll cut into a song and we'll see sort of the breadth of what they're doing and how some of it kind of crumbles a little bit over time. So I think the interesting thing about a young band like this is they have no real fealty to the canon of heavy metal. They really are just interested in what they're interested in, and this band is a reflection of what they feel, think, and do. And there's a certain autonomy to it that I really appreciate, as this psychedelic jam of death metal fans who have all these other like indie rock influences that we feel all over this record, and maybe some interest in some electronic music. And you can tell they're broadening their horizons while they're creating, and you can feel that on this record. Now, some of them are advancing in skill more than others over the course of their last two full lengths, and this one really showcases the drummer's specialization and his focus on this more progressive, jammed, sort of prog death feeling, which it's not exactly atheist level of playing, but it is certainly accomplished and impressive and rooted in fundamentals that are just instantly impressive when applied to either a virtuosic-minded player or someone who's just expressive in general. Now, the guitar work doesn't stand up to it. The bass work is kind of in the background, and the real interest of this record and is the vignettes they present over time as you sit with it. It really doesn't flow very well together, but as an experience, it makes sense as a passage from point A to point B in general. So, you know, one minute there's a hard chorus kind of groove riff hitting off. The next minute they're blasting through some brutal death metal for like 10 seconds. And then there's like a post rock or a psychedelic interlude, or there's a 5 minute drum solo in one of the songs. So these are very active songs, but they also know when to chill out, longer than maybe they need to sometimes in terms of engaging the death metal fans' ear. So it's not just for death metal fans. Death metal is just part of their vernacular, and maybe not the most important part on this record, where they sort of task themselves with breaking boundaries. And in a lot of ways, I think they're doing that, but they're not really charming the death metal fan while they're doing it. And it's sort of based, it's I appreciate that part of it. It doesn't always make for great music or interesting compositions, or the performances are still kind of fumbling about with what to do with the guitars. But overall, I think this is something new. It's something different. It's something at least a little bit bold from young musicians who aren't just following the status quo. And I'd rather celebrate that than say not good enough yet, So it's a moderately high recommendation. I think that this is just something that the public in general is not going to be ready for. This is for someone who's open-minded and seeing what different textures can come into avant-garde and experimental death metal, and expand its horizons in various different ways. Some of it works, some of it doesn't, but there's something interesting in each of these songs, which I think people should check out. So go ahead and you can listen to it now. It's been out most of the month, and go ahead and read my review if you'd like more succinct thoughts.